So let's say we're playing the comp on Eichenwald defense, and the enemy is running a brawl comp or running Talon Dive. But how we want to take this fight? So remember how I said on attack you had to play more together, your core has to play more together. They can't really play split because it's easy for the enemy to poke you out in that case. Well, in the case of defense, it is more it is possible to play more split. And why? Because you get to set up before the fight, and when the enemy tries to push in, you can immediately start the engage. And unlike the attack where you have to close the distance before going in, which leaves you vulnerable to poke. So when you're starting to defend, what you want to do is you want to designate an area where you want to have the fight to take place. And this is called a kill box. And a kill box is just somewhere where you have set up angles around and where you can just engage at a moment's notice without using cooldowns or a significant amount of cooldowns just to get there. So in this case, you have the monkey holding right on the bottom of the stairs. You have the core holding the right side. You have your Sombra and Tracer, and your Sombra might be behind, but let's say she's here, and you have your Sombra and Tracer right here, over the bridge, so you can hold this angle. And what you want to do is every time the enemy intrudes into your kill box, you want to just simply engage on them. So let's say they try go in, they don't do anything special. Well, you just go in, you just can even walk in from this position. You do damage, you do damage, you do damage. Hopefully you kill one, or force out a lot of cooldowns at least. But if you don't, you just disengage. You are a really good comp at disengaging after all. And then you will set up a new kill box and give the enemy some space, but you need to be set up for the next fight. So that is the essence of Talon Dive on defense, but ultimates will change the playing field. So before we go over how ultimates will change how you defend on this comp, let's say in this example they lost maybe a Kree, for example. So but you have to disengage. So you have the movement cooldown to disengage. You just fall back somewhere, and then you have your Lucio, you stack together so you can speed around to so you can speed your core to somewhere safe. And then you try to set up your Sombra and Tracer wherever you want the fight to happen. Let's say you want to hold point, for example, so you want to set up your Sombra and Tracer somewhere maybe here, and then you have your core right here. Maybe on this high ground, maybe you use a movement. Well, your Moira Lucio would not be able to, but you can stow your Moira Lucio in this mini room, and then afterwards, they will walk into point, and then when they intrude into your kill box, let me draw it. You just look to engage again. And preferably without using many cooldowns. So you go in, you do a bit of damage, and then you hopefully kill another one, and that should be enough for you to finish this fight in particular. But the thing that Talon Dive is weak to is being poked out. And as the defenders, as the attackers, you get to choose when the fight happens. And that means that unlike on the attack where you get to engage the enemy and force the enemy to fight with you, on the defense, the enemy can just stay at the choke and look to maybe send a Kree on a conservative flank to try to poke out your Winston. And if that happens, what do you want to do? Well, that's when having ultimates is really useful. And why? Because they allow you to go really aggressive into the enemy without compromising, without the risk of without as much risk of compromising your position, going to the enemy setup that they're prepared for and being punished for the engage. So and Dallas feel they like to run this comp, and they like to really engage first on the defense when they're defending an objective. They don't just let the enemy take the objective or like contest it. They always look for an ultimate combo that allows them to just go in aggressively, and that's one of the reasons they were so successful in this comp. So let's say you have EMP right here, and like they're not gonna want to like just push in. They're gonna look to like have clear angles. Let's say they're running Diva, like obviously good brawl teams, they don't really run Zarya. They're going to look for Diva. They're going to look to poke like the flanks out. They're going to look to set up their Kree on slight angles to try to poke out your monkey. They're going to look to shoot your monkey. So what do you want to do in that case? Well, let's say you have EMP. So what are you going to do? Since like EMP like allows your team to just go in aggressively, you just EMP and you just like stream through the choke and get 1 or 2 kills, and if it doesn't work, you disengage and you get your defensive setup again. And since like your comp is really good at disengaging, obviously, but like on defense, like if you have ultimates, then you can look to like engage really aggressively and try to finish the fight before they even have a chance to poke you out or stage an attack. And generally on defense, like especially on like 2 CP defense in particular, which gives your team like favorable respawns. Like you want to be looking to do this as much as possible, because like let's say this is 2 CP, let's pretend. Even if you like go in and lose 2 or 3, as long as you kill one, their push is over. Because without a BAP, they can't sustain themselves on point. Without a Kree, like you can like, you know, take angles around, they can't poke you out, and you can just like chip away at their team one by one. If they lose the Rhine, that's obviously non-negotiable. They can't push in. But you just need to like, especially on like when you have favorable respawns, you just need to look to go in aggressively. This is a comp that relies on going aggressive, keeping the tempo up, and trying to win team fights without giving the enemy the opportunity to even respond. Because even if you go in and like you scuff up your engage a bit, the thing is like it's an engage like with 6 players. It's gonna be scary, and like if you're doing it right, you're gonna get like 1. And like more importantly, like the enemy's gonna have to like stage an ad hoc response, because the enemy like went from, you know, being like really far from you, and like since you don't have poke, you might not even appear scary, to like, you know, your whole team just goes in and the enemy has to stage a response like immediately. So like by being the first one to engage on this comp, you not only like have the opportunity to kill 1 or 2, potentially finishing the fight and building like a lot of ult charge, but you also shock the enemy. You also like prevent the enemy from executing their own plan, because like for example in Brawl, like BAP ult, for example, Shatter requires you to be in range. BAP ult requires you to like actually have good poke angles. Same with High Noon. Diva Bomb is not something you can just get value of, and in any case you have like movement abilities. Beat engage could be like concerning, but you could just like use your movement to kite it out. And freeze, what is freeze gonna do when you have like probably one of the most mobile comps in the game? So like your comp like has like ultimates that like get value sooner than like most other comps. So you should use that advantage as much as you can. And being able to like know when to go for tempo play on like defense is like a skill you need to master to play this comp successfully. Because on defense, like generally on defense, this comp is a bit weaker, because they can just like stay at the choke and, for example, stay outside your area of influence or kill box and play for like spam, or like they could look to pop ultimates to try to sustain themselves when you engage, like, you know, beat, and also like this, and also like Brawl in general like is one of like the strongest responses to this comp, because Brawl is able to like sustain like even a 6-man engage for like a limited amount of time with Immor. So you're gonna have to like go for like cycles where you go in, go out, go in, go out, and you're gonna have to play more split for multiple angles. So speaking of that, like Generally, like you play like more stacked when the enemy's running more of a poke composition, so that like you can't just get like spammed out easily. And but like if the enemy's playing more of a brawl composition, then you're gonna look to play more split because they have limited amount of poke, and you can look to, and like since they have to go close to you, they have to like push into your kill box potentially to like go and force objective. They want to clear map control. Then like you want to play more split, and you want to look for like engages from multiple angles where like they can't just speed out to kite out, or they can't just like use abilities which for brawl is strong in one direction. So yeah, like that's basically how you play on defense. You look to like hold a kill box if you don't have ultimates or you don't want to like engage too aggressively. So you hold an area, and then when they go into your area, you look to just collapse on them and disengage if necessary, but preferably you want to engage without using movement cooldowns. So in this case, like holding here, like your tanks can just like walk in, pop the bubble, and your tracer can just drop, your sombra can just drop, and you can just save your cooldowns for like the disengage. So yeah, like with this comp, you want to be really careful about being poked out, and like mind the enemy comp, see like what you need to do, like how split you need to play, and like how quickly do you need to engage, because against a brawl comp, generally like you can try to delay an engage, try to set up the good engage, try to like play more for the stall, but like against a poke comp, you do have to be like careful. You need to play like quicker so that you don't get poked out that fast. So yeah, let's go over like the final part now, and this is the part about some specifics that I want to cover, and I'm gonna give an example of like how Dallas like succeeded with this comp.